Welcome to Metaphysical Soul Speak. I'm your host, Elena Fox Starks. Hey guys, I hope you're doing really well in this moment in time, and that whenever and wherever you are, when you listen to this recording, I hope that you are able to contemplate your quantum mechanical self, or quantum physical self. I have been experiencing really weird things all day on a quantum level. I think it has to do with lack of sleep. It always seems to happen during lack of sleep days. But I don't know, I woke up this morning and I felt like I was 7 feet tall. No small feat, since I'm only 5 feet tall. I was so tall. And I felt huge, and it was like I was looking at things from my 8th chakra instead of my actual eyes. Even though I was seeing with my actual eyes as well. And this has been going on for a few days with the eyes thing. Like, I've seen things glowing. Like, I've seen letters on books that was like maybe a normally kind of a pale white or blue suddenly turn into golden light hovering above the book. Does that mean I'm seen in 5D out of nowhere? Maybe. Quite possibly. Today I went into my son's room to tell him something, and he had, well, there is no light in there, which I've mentioned before. He was on his computer, but the light of his computer was going in one direction. And I saw a bright blue and white beam from my son's head go to the right of him, from the side of his face or side of his head, just a beam going into the ground. I don't know what that was. There was no apparent source from it. I think it was coming from him, not going to him. And then when I tried to see it again, all I could see was fairies floating around his room, or zipping by, actually, rapidly. And when I started mentioning quantum stuff a second ago, I just started seeing all kinds of stuff in my room. And the more I look, the more I see stuff zipping around and flying about in my room. I don't think there's anyone else here but me. Humanoid. I'm the only humanoid in the room, but I see little particles and things zipping about. I think I'm becoming more aware of the quantum world, I guess. But today we went to our Creole food, Cajun food class, cooking class, to learn how to make 3 dishes. And actually, 3 dishes and a dessert. Oh my God, you guys, I've eaten so much Cajun food today, and it's like I want to go out and make more. Absolutely exciting it was. So many people came. It was a fundraiser, $15 to take the class, and the teacher was a volunteer, and she came all the way from Arkansas, and she comes to Ecuador for 3 months every year, and she volunteers. Her name is Deb, and she just volunteers, and she does all kinds of things for the community here in Cuenca. And then she goes back home. And then she comes back a year later and stays for 3 months with her husband, and then they go back home. And they've been doing this for years, which I thought was really cool. It's remarkable. I just learned this. And she's been here, I guess, now 2.5 months, and she's leaving on Mercury direct day, March 9th. So I thought that was kind of funny. But I don't know. My oldest kid told me years ago about create your space, which is, or maker space, or create space, or create your space, I think, something like that. There's a lot of different places in the United States where you could go and use their tools, use their art supplies, use whatever. There's one place I found in Oakland, California, online, where you can go and make metal sculptures with all the equipment they've got there, including like tons of scrap metal, I guess, of various kinds, which I think that's absolutely incredible. If you want to make sculptures and you never took an art class in your life and you don't know how, they have people there. You can take a class and learn, and then you can use the equipment, and it's like a couple $100 a month, and whatever you make, you take home. So the place that we went to today, I didn't really register it until today. Literally, the place is called the Foundation Create Your Space. And that blew my mind. But so many things blew my mind today. The person who's running the whole place seemed to be extremely interested in me, in getting me interested in the place, because he kind of feels like I might become a teacher there. So I thought that was interesting. It was a good energy, like, all right. And then my son had the energy from them that there were 3 people there, 2 volunteers that speak English and Spanish, and then the owner who only speaks Spanish. And they were giving us the vibes of, but in different ways. I was getting the vibe of, maybe you want to be a teacher here. And my son was getting the vibe of, maybe you want to volunteer, like work here, for free as a volunteer. And so we loved the energy of the place. The energy was incredible. And I mean, we learned how to make red beans and rice, Creole style, and we learned how to make shrimp etouffee. Oh my good God, that was one of the best things I've ever eaten in my life. It was really spicy, but in the nicest of ways. And there's also, what else do we make? Oh, jambalaya. But there's, everything had to be a little bit altered. The red beans you get in the States are not the red beans you get here. And, we don't really have sausage here. We have chorizo. It's a little bit different. But, oh my God, you guys. Oh, the food was so good. Like, we all cooked, but there's so many people. I chopped onions for 5 minutes, put the knife down, came back, someone else was using the knife, and someone else had taken away the cutting board. We didn't have enough to go around, so, pretty much I just ended up talking to people today. I made good connections, and I met people who want to buy my cookies in my cookie business we plan to start in March. And I said, I'm still perfecting the recipes and adjusting everything for the altitude. Apparently there's 7 or 8 steps you have to go through to adjust baking for the altitude, and cooking as well, I found out today. And so we also made pecan pralines. Oh my God. I mean, seriously, it was just really and truly a magical day. So there was that, and then it just really was a really good day, really magical day. I can't explain it in another way. Just today was a good day. My son was in his heaven. He loves to cook. He wants to cook. It's his passion. It's his joy. He wants to go to culinary school and study gastronomy. He is so excited. And we have the recipes of everything that we made today. And we learned all the secrets of these dishes. It was just really, really good. And like when something didn't turn out, we found out why it didn't turn out. It was really awesome. So we cooked, then we sat there and ate this massive plate of food, and then we spent $7 extra each to have a huge to-go container filled with the most amazing shrimp and everything, jambalaya. It was really incredible. So we just, but we walked around this place and we looked at their garden. They planted like 12 or 15 different plants to help the refugee children when they have ailments, so they could treat them with fresh herbs from the garden. And so many people showed up today. It was $15 for the class, $7 to take the food home. And after the expense of the actual food itself, the foundation raised $500 to help refugees from Colombia, Peru, and Venezuela. And so we all like it brought tears to my eyes. We were like, oh my God, this is so incredible. This is so incredible. So and I think that's why they want me to teach, because they'll bring people in, and then when people pay for the classes, then the money goes to help the refugees with medicinal things and finding a place to live and all kinds of neat stuff, things that the refugees really need. And it was just like really incredible. So it was just like everything started to vibrate and hum at like a different level today. It was just this. So I came home. Well, actually, after that, we my son called. There's an apartment we saw online, and we were so excited about it because it was so beautiful. And so my son called the guy and said, "Can we come by and see your apartment today?" And we told him which one it was, and he said he had a couple different ones. So we said, "Sure, go meet me at the Donut King," which is a place where my Venezuelan friend works, and I've known her for like 2 years. Every time I go to the supermarket, she's there, and she's one of the sweetest people in the world. She's just a little bit younger than me, and she's got a couple kids, and she's a single mom, so we have all this stuff in common, and just the sweetest, warmest, most amazing person. So it was weird that he asked us to meet there. And I was thinking when we were done looking at the apartment, we'd go over to my friend Mike's Meats was the name of his business. But on the way to our class this morning, we found out that Mike's Meats was closed, like permanently. It's not even a place anymore, which made us very, very sad, because that's where we got our nice, like New York style steaks. That's where we got our apple smoked wood bacon, like the stuff that we hardly haven't had meat like that in like 3 months or 2 months, maybe 3 months. And maybe because the ascension of humanity and everyone moving a little bit more towards a vegetarian or vegan lifestyle, just automatically not even wanting or craving the meat anymore, might have been the downfall of his business, because he did enough advertising, and it was his stuff was incredible. He had like the Italian salami and 5 different kinds of cheeses and smoked turkey, and you can't even hardly get turkey in the city. So, it's just like all these crazy changes. Everything is changing and swirling and vibrating up higher and higher. And I felt it today. And then went to see the place that we wanted to see, and it wasn't available anymore. And turns out the guy's an agent, and he had like folders and folders and folders full of properties for sale, for rent, you name it. and he was the sweetest person. And he just took us all over Cuenca today, just drove us all over, drove us home. We didn't have to pay for a taxi because he drove us home. And we're going to meet him tomorrow and look for an apartment again. And it was just cool, but like everything started to flow into place, And I think that when you start to become aware of your quantum self, things are going to start flowing into place, right? And we were going with the flow, and it started pulling us along. So I get home and I'm exhausted. I mean, I don't think I fell asleep around 3, and I had to get up at 8. So it's like I didn't even get 5 hours of sleep though, because I kept waking up with acid reflux, which is very odd for me. It doesn't happen very often. So I had to take vinegar twice in water. And then anyway, so we did all this stuff for the day. So and I didn't have caffeine all day. So I was altered in a weird way. Like I'm just like vibing on light, kind of. Pulling in energy and doing that Wim Hof method. I only did the breathing, and I did it last night twice, and then this morning a little bit. So I think it's putting me in a quantum state. So if you did not hear the Wim Hof method episode yesterday, go listen to that, because I think that's what's it's pushing me into the quantum mechanic awareness. Anyway, I came home, and the Conscious Life Expo that was in Los Angeles last week is 5 of the lectures, at least, the keynote speakers, they were recorded and put on the Gaia.com website. So I cast it to my TV, and I sat back while my son went to go visit his friend for an hour. And I just sat here, and I was so awestruck, because today and tomorrow is when we're getting the solar winds hitting us. And so for hours and hours tonight, I felt it. Like I felt the energy, the cosmic radiation, the neutron radiation coming from space itself. I felt the solar wind energy. It felt red, like a bright ultraviolet red coming in, and I felt like it's a vibrant color, to become more aware of our bodies and our health and any issues. And I feel like the energy of this is going to snag on anything that we need to work on, if that makes sense. So as this was coming in, this heat energy, this infrared-like energy, I feel like parts of my body were snagging, like maybe my knees. Like I need to work on my joints. I need to take more precaution of my joints, for example. So anyway, I came across this lecture that Billy Carson did at the Conscious Life Expo last week. I did not know anything about him. I saw a couple quick mentions of him on the Conscious Life Expo website, and I was really feeling a connection to him. I think possibly I saw into the future a little bit. I saw myself sitting at a table, kind of a round table with him. It was like a round white, kind of like maybe like a Formica type of table, like a cafeteria style, with like the benches that are like hooked to the table. And I saw me sitting at a table with him like that, and having a deep discussion about life and spirituality and science and how the two meet, and quantum mechanics. And when I first saw a picture of him, that's kind of a quick, instant vision that I got. But I didn't really know what he was all about. I didn't read anything. ForbiddenKnowledge.com is his website, and I think it's the number 4. 4 and then BIDDEN knowledge.com. I think that's what I saw today. But anyway, we were I was just sitting there listening to him, And I kept getting these downloads of information, massive downloads. I kept getting like so sleepy and overwhelmed, and I felt all the different energies coming into my body from the cosmos, from the sun, the portal that is the sun. I felt it, and yet no beings are in here with me, just me. But then I'm listening to this guy, and I started getting massive downloads, and I kept like falling asleep. And then I'd have to like back it up, and I'd try to listen again, and then I'd fall asleep again after 10 minutes. And I thought, well, maybe it's lack of sleep, or I don't know what this is, but I feel like, holy crap, I'm getting a lot of downloads. I'm going to have to watch this probably 2 or 3 more times. And at the end of the video, he says, don't ever laugh at anybody who says they're getting quantum downloads, because they are. And he's talking about how the universe is a holographic universe, and how quantum physicists have discovered that if you take the negative space, or not, I shouldn't, I call it negative space because I'm an artist, but the, if you take the empty space, the void space that is in each atom, and every atom in the universe, as above, so below, as below, so above, every atom in the universe is 99.999% air, like just void. And he said if you could take the air out of all of the atoms, out of all of the people's bodies on the planet Earth, what remains would fit inside the space that is currently taken up by a sugar cube. It blew my mind. It blew my mind. It blew my freaking mind. Does that blow your mind? Did you guys already know that? Is this blowing your mind right now? The actual dense matter in all of our bodies combined, when the air or the empty space was taken out of all of our combined atoms in our body. Atoms are what make up molecules. Would just fit in the space, the material space of a sugar cube. And if you don't know what a sugar cube is, it's 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch. So basically 1.23 centimeters on all sides of a cube. I'm just like blown away. I'm so blown away. Oh, and by the way, the guy that was taking us around to the apartments today believes in reincarnation. He's spiritual, not religious. And we just like kept having like conversations about reincarnation and ghosts, and he was asking me, why don't people just go to the light? It doesn't make sense why they don't go to heaven. And I was explaining to him that, like, I had a couple here last year. After a car crash, they showed up in my apartment, and they said, and they both died, and they said that they had been dead for maybe a year. They weren't sure. But what happened was they didn't realize they were in an accident, because they died immediately. And they saw a light in the sky, and they thought it was a UFO. They got terrified, and they were hiding from it. And then when it closed up, they realized that was their way to get to heaven, and they didn't know how to reopen the gate. So they were kind of freaked out about it. They're like, oh, oops, it was like God, not like an ET. Oh my God, like 3 times in the past 5 minutes, I have seen bright white, and one was just bright blue particles. I'm starting to see quantum. I know that's what's happening. Or I'm completely going nuts. Does shrimp etouffee do this to you guys? Is this... I mean, it's just a pepper. The hot peppers, do they make you hallucinate? Oh my God, this is so cool. Is there an angel near? No. I think I'm just seeing quantum particles. But, so we are made up 99.9% of our bodies. It's just empty space. No wonder if we're so spaced out sometimes. So, I mean, really and truly, and I already knew this, but I heard it in a new way. I heard it in a different way today. And it just blew my freaking mind. And the other thing is about this is that we're light. We are light. We have light bodies, but we are light. All of us, even what's physical and solid to us, is really just light. It's a light projection. We are holographic images projected out of the mind of God. We are in the matrix, and we are the matrix. And we are just God contemplating himself. I mean, this talk was deep. Like, really, this guy, Billy Carson, he is in my head now. Billy Carson, if you're listening, man, you are in my head. In a good way. This guy just blew my mind. The way that he put things, and the information is just like, it just kept coming and coming and coming, like just so much information. And then I was getting information downloads, plus all this cosmic radiation. It was just, this has been a wild frickin' day. Walked in the sun today with my son. Walked in the SUN with my SON. And it was absolutely so bright. I mean, unbearably bright. It's so much energy pouring into the planet right now from the sun. It's crazy. Well, I told you guys a few days ago about seeing the mahjong tile symbol in the sky out of one window. It was formulated with clouds and quickly disappeared. And then I looked out the next day out a different window and saw the exact same symbol appear out the other side. And it quickly dissolved as well. And I'm like, where have I seen that? Where have I seen it? And I started thinking about it. Well, it turns out I've seen it in mahjong when I've played just on my cell phone or, video mahjong, just the solitaire one, not the actual gambling game that, yes, I really want to learn how, but no, I don't want to play it because I don't want to lose a bunch of money. I had a friend in a couple that I knew from China, and they lived in Chico, California, and they have the Chinese shop that they've had for decades, and that place is my favorite place in Chico to shop. It was one of the most strange and interesting stores. Like, you could go in and get like plates and cups and bamboo, as well as plastic chopsticks, but also they had a bunch of magical stuff from mainland China, a bunch of stuff for good luck, feng shui, like good fortune. They had like the bamboo money tree. They had everything to feng shui your house. And they were the coolest people. They even had the Japanese rice candy that has paper that you can eat the paper. You can eat the plastic wrap because it's made from rice. Like this really wild candy. I think it's called bonbon or something from Japan. But they always wanted me to play mahjong with them because they knew they were going to, that I'd lose my shirt. And they were so happy about taking my money. They were always laughing about it. Like, we're going to teach you to play mahjong so we could take your money. And they were always teasing me. And I just loved them so much. And when the first time I had to exorcise ghosts from my house, and I had to do it in a very specific way because it was natives. And I told you guys this last year. But it was this couple that taught me how to, taught me what I needed. And they told me from their Chinese perspective, from their ancestors, from magic from their ancestors, how to get a ghost away from your house and what to do. And it was very interesting. They're very interesting people. But anyway, so I saw this cloud outside the window, and then I saw the next day the same exact shaped cloud outside the other window. So I finally figured out mahjong. All right. So I found out that there's an honor suit in mahjong called arrows, but it's also called dragons. Well, dragons are the beings, the creatures that live in the upper atmosphere, and they create the big weather. That's the name of the spirits that we generally can't see, and sometimes they make shapes in the clouds. So I thought that was very weird. And then the next thing after this was the tile that I saw, or the shape. It was normally on the mahjong tiles, it's red, and it's like a rectangle, like kind of horizontal with a line through it in the middle. And I found out that this is called a zhong, Z-H-O with a line over it, N-G, zhong, and that means center. Which, okay, so now I'm getting a cloud in the sky that tells me to center. Like to center myself, or go to the center of town. In Spanish, we call downtown El Centro. So I'm like, okay, we're going to go more into this. So I found out that this Chinese character represents 3 other characters, and combined those characters are Hong Zhong, H-O-N-G-Z-H-O-N-G. Hong Zhong, I think. If you're Chinese, if you speak Mandarin, you can tell me I'm pronouncing this wrong. I know I am. I'd like to learn. I'm just absolutely fascinated by Mandarin. But anyway, so this character connotes passing the imperial exam. That gave me the chills when I read that. It also means a hit in archery, where you hit your mark. And it also stands for the Confucian virtue of benevolence. So I apparently passed some sort of exam. I have centered myself, and I've somehow hit my mark. And maybe I'm benevolent. I don't know. It absolutely blew my mind. I don't know, guys. I had to tell you guys this because it blew my mind. A friend of mine asked me the other day what I meant by cloud reading, and if he listens to this episode, he's going to know. That's what I mean by cloud reading. The clouds here are divinatory as hell. Like, I just look out. If I ask a question, within 5 to 10 minutes, I get a nudge from spirit to look up, and my answer is in the clouds every time. And I did mention last year, like, a friend of mine was going to come over, and he didn't tell me what time. So I asked God, oh yeah, what time is he coming over? And I looked, and the cloud made a 6 in the sky. About 6 o'clock rolled around, and he wasn't here yet. And I said, God, did he change his plans? Is he still coming over? And a Y appeared in the sky. for yes. And then I'm like, oh, what time will he be here? And then a 7 appeared in the sky. And a couple minutes later, a 3 appeared in the sky. And I went, does that mean 7:30? And I did my pendulum, and the answer was yes. And sure enough, he showed up at 7:30. Everything is so quantum, and it's just divinatory as hell here. And I've been very, very aware of the quantumness of it. The fact that when I tell you guys I love you, that sends ripples of light in every direction, and you feel it on some level. When I send you good energy, positive vibes, and energy and spirit of health and the sunshine, and you guys get it. You literally get the message on a quantum level from me. Likewise, when you think that about the whole world, or you think positive, good vibes, people get it. And my whole body just started shaking right now. Felt like I was going to lift up off my bed just now. I don't know what's going on. Something's happening. I feel like I'm changing. Like today has been a really weird day. All right. And you could tell it in my voice. I know, like, I sound more mellow. I sound like I've been smoking weed, and I haven't. Too bad. I wish I was, and maybe I will later, but I feel real weird. I feel altered in a way. I had so many positive interactions with people that are spiritual like me. That's absolutely rare. I don't know what I did. I think it's the Wim Hof method. It brought me, and I only did part of it, but it brought me to a quantum place today. Anyway, solar wind speed. Let's go to spaceweather.com and get back down to Earth for a moment. When reading about the sun and the Earth and the sky and the planets and everything. So solar winds speed today was a little bit less than yesterday, 414.3 kilometers per second. And it says here that there's no sunspots, no change. 18 days. Solar minimum conditions are in effect. The sun has been blank, without sunspots for 18 consecutive days. This is a sign that solar minimum is still underway, despite recent signs of life from solar cycle 25. Now, even during the nadir of the solar cycle, however, it's still possible to observe bright polar auroras, as the events of February 18th and 19th demonstrated. If you want to have aurora alerts sent to your phone, just go to spaceweather.com, and they have a little link to get your SMS texts alerts. And I mean, even if you live anywhere on the planet and you cannot see the auroras, you could tune into an aurora camera channel on YouTube. There's a lot of them. I've watched them. Every time I watch them, it's just a cloudy sky or nothing going on, but I haven't been so lucky. But actually, if I have an aurora alert sent to my phone, that might be worth doing for me. That might be something I do. Okay, so we are getting hit right now, bombarded with radiation, as well as solar winds, and there was another flow out of the coronal hole in the southern part of the sun today that they believe will graze Earth's magnetic field on the 25th of February. So basically in almost 5 days. As far as the Earth, the all sky, it's not Earth, Sky Fireball Network from NASA, they reported only 3 fireballs today, so that's good news. Now, this is a little article I'm going to read from spaceweather.com. Betelgeuse. Thank God. Betelgeuse is here. Not the crazy man from the movie, but Betelgeuse is brightening again. Don't panic. Betelgeuse is not likely to undergo a supernova explosion anytime soon, says South Korean research astronomer Boom Suk Yom. I hope that's how you say his name, because if I'm going to pronounce it with an English accent, it's Bumsuck Yum. Oh, I just can't make this stuff up. But Boom Suk Yom, I think. Yom. I hope that's right. I apologize if you are in South Korea and I say this name wrong. I hope I say it right. I'm trying my best here. Anyway, what he has to say is the red supergiant star Betelgeuse appears to have finally stopped its unprecedented dimming. It has now been brightening over the last few days. Yeom assembled this light curve from the data collected by American Association of Variable Star Observers. And that's good, because he says according to the data, Betelgeuse reached its minimum brightness between February 12th and 14th, and now it is slowly brightening again. The development was actually predicted by Ed Guinan and Richard Wasatonic. Wasatonic. Wow, that's a crazy name too. Of Villanova University. They recently suggested that Betelgeuse might bounce back within a week of February 21st. Their prediction was based on a Fourier analysis of Betelgeuse's light curve, which revealed a strong 430-day period. If the current dimming were just an unusually deep dip in Betelgeuse's natural 430-day variability, they reasoned, its brightness should start to increase again on February 21st, plus or minus 7 days. So their prediction seems to be coming true. However, it's too early to draw a firm conclusion, because the turnaround, if that's indeed what is happening, is still in its early stages. So obviously stay tuned here for updates, or go to spaceweather.com for updates, however you like. So this stuff is interesting as heck, man. I don't think there's anything else on this website I was going to cover, so moving right along. Not a lot going on as far as the disclosurenews.it website. Basically, there's some very strange anomalies on the chart, but we only had like a peak of 28 hertz frequency, and that's it. They have a big explanation as to how they think they can scientifically tie this to human consciousness. So if you want to, it's just their theory, their working theory right now. If you want to go check out their long explanation, I don't feel like reading it. It's kind of confusing, like the other day. And I'm feeling super weird and super altered right now. I feel like there's another wave of cosmic radiation coming in right now. And when I close my eyes, I'm seeing like a pink and purple, like a lavender and pink. And it's very heavy, but beautiful. It's like almost like an energy of comfort. And I'm doing muscle testing, so my higher guidance says, yeah, that's what it is. I hope that we can all just hop on into the fifth dimension quickly. I feel like that's what's going on right now. I feel really freaking weird. I feel altered as hell. I mean, I had Coca-Cola. I had a couple sips of Coca-Cola tonight. And I haven't had a soda like that, like Coca-Cola. It's been like 2 or 3 years. Maybe. I don't think I've had a soda like that. I mean, anything I get that's soderific, similar to that, just doesn't have sugar in it or has like vitamins and minerals. There's a lot of stuff like that here. I love it. If you feel like having a soda, you could get something healthy. But But I don't know. I know I ate too much sugar today, and I ate rice, which I never eat. But jambalaya, baby. All right, so we had some very weird things going on with the Schumann Resonance today in the heartmath.org website. So we're going to get to that right now. I just looked and we have 44 minutes on the clock, and I looked here in California, started off today at midnight at 44 hertz frequency. So that's not a coincidence. Again with the quantum stuff, like, whoa. Today is just blowing my mind. So California started off at midnight, 44 hertz frequency. By 5 a.m. they were down to 36. And Hafuf, Saudi Arabia is up to 107 hertz frequency at midnight, and they went down to 103 hertz frequency by 5 a.m. And I breathed in a lot of volcanic ash last night. It's just so fine. It's this particulate matter. And I opened my window for a couple hours because I was hot, because of all the cosmic radiation, like I do all the time when I feel hot like that. I just need to breathe the air. It's my element. And I laid down, and I think it was on my blanket or something. I woke up after 2 hours and my eyes were beet red, and I had like gunk in my eyes again, and my lungs I wasn't breathing very well last night. So I keep sniffling today, and that's what's going on. I'm not sick, I don't think. My throat feels kind of swollen from talking too much. I talked a lot today, guys. I met the coolest people. It was just such an amazing day. A lot of women in their 70s. I met a woman in her early 60s, and she and I agreed that we'd like to get together and not go shopping. She's like, I hate shopping. She said, I keep meeting the coolest people, and then they want to go shopping all the time. She's like, I don't want to go shopping. This is not an activity for me. I'm like, oh my gosh. I shop sometimes, but just like groceries, nothing big, and the occasional t-shirt or something. And she's like, yeah, I hate shopping. I'm like, let's go out and not go shopping together. So she's like, yeah. But we talked for a long time, and man, we have so much stuff in common. I swear to God, it's this quantum thing. You know, like, she's lived in Minnesota. I lived in Minnesota. She lived in Chicago. I lived in Detroit. Just crazy stuff like that. Just very weird. And then I met somebody else who lived somewhere where I had lived. It's really weird. Like, you know, it's like I'm how many thousands of miles away from my country, and yet I keep meeting people that lived within a couple hours of where I lived, or in the exact same city. There's 25,000 Americans here. How could they all be from like where I'm from or where I've lived? It makes no sense. Like, I met a lady here, and she told me where what her apartment number is in Santa Barbara. She keeps an apartment there. She gave me the address of an apartment that I almost rented out. The exact one, like the number on the door and everything. I'm like, oh, I know the Anapamu apartments. They have a really nice swimming pool. And years ago, I met a guy on an airplane, and we flirted with each other for hours, and then finally we started talking about our backgrounds, and it turns out he was engaged to be married to my best friend, that was my pal around best friend for years in Santa Barbara. And it turns out she's the next door neighbor to the apartment in that Anapamu apartment building that I almost rented out. And now I know somebody. So, like, she still lives there probably, and I know someone who's her neighbor. It's like this quantum crap keeps happening. It's quantum entanglement, damn it, when worlds collide and collide and collide again. We don't need a particle accelerator, because this is the experiment. Earth is the particle accelerator. So, Anyway, did I already say Hafuf? Hafuf, Saudi Arabia started off at 107 hertz frequency at midnight, and they were down to 103, which I think I already said, I'm not sure. Okay, Lithuania started off at 102 hertz frequency at midnight, and by 5 a.m. they were down to 95 hertz frequency. Nothing to sneeze at there, oh my god. Still way up there. Alberta, Canada started off at 63 hertz frequency at midnight, and by 5 a.m. they went down to 53 hertz frequency. And Schumann Resonance for Northland, New Zealand started off at 68 hertz frequency at midnight, and by 5 a.m. they were down to 54 hertz frequency. And Honolulu, South Africa, the one that's been way up there for a long time, now is at the bottom. They start off at 33 hertz frequency at midnight, but by 5 a.m. they were down to 0. So Honolulu is at 0, at least by this morning. We'll see where it goes, but last time they went to 0, they were there for 2 or 3 weeks. And then just recently they went up to 799 hertz frequency. So you guys, if you're feeling all kinds of really wonky and weird, where one moment you're totally fine, the next moment you're about to just pass out because you're super tired and you need a cosmic nap, I think the Schumann Resonance is going freaking nuts right now. All right, lesson 238 is where we're at in A Course in Miracles. You may find the Foundation for Inner Peace website at acim.org. If you want to follow along, you can also just download an app. There's so many free apps. Just look up ACIM or A Course in Miracles, and you'll find an app that should surely suit you. They're all the same except for the color, basically, and the layout of the app itself, of course. But these lessons have a very high vibration, and they also put us in the right energy and the right headspace. And they all teach us a lesson on a deeper level. So if you don't like some of the words that are used, the word son does include sons and daughters. It's just a generalized term. This book was written quite a while ago. The word God, if that bugs you, just insert what you like. Divine Mother, Goddess, Higher Self, Jah, Ra, Yahweh, any of these names, any of these words, Allah, anything that rhymes with Dios, God, whatever you want to say. The universe, the prime creator, creatrix, the matrix, whatever you want to substitute is fine by me, because I want you to feel comfortable emotionally. So with these, we're on lesson 238. On my decision, all salvation rests. On my decision, all salvation rests. Father, your trust in me has been so great. I must be worthy. You created me and know me as I am, and yet you placed your Son's salvation in my hands and let it rest on my decision. I must be beloved of you indeed, and I must steadfast in holiness as well. And I must be steadfast in holiness as well. That you would give your Son to me in certainty that he is safe, who still is part of you, and yet is mine because he is my self. You see what he did there? Christians that worship Jesus as a separate deity than actual God miss the mark on this. They believe that Jesus is outside of us, or brother, Yeshua, that he's like outside of us, that he's the Son of God. The rest of us are what? According to Reverend Ike, the illegitimate bastard children of God. That makes no sense, right? God loves us all equally. we are all the Son of God. If one is to be called the Son, that makes us all the Son of God. If you want to call us the piece, the part, the spark of God, then we all are the spark of God. All right, so the second part of this lesson, and here it is. And so again today, we pause to think how much our Father loves us, and how dear His Son, created by His love, remains to Him whose love is made complete in Him. Wow, guys, I'm having massive downloads. I hope that you guys are getting them too through my voice, because I am just being bombarded. Oh my God. I'm going to have to take a 5-minute break between, or 10-minute break between. This one might be quite a bit late getting out there. Anyway, the main idea for today is, on my decision, all salvation rests. Speaking of rest, I'm going to take a quick break, and when I come back, I'm going to discuss this wild show that's on Gaia.com called Unearthing Nazca. And I'm not going to go into the names and the dates, but I'm going to talk to you guys about the scientific evidence and findings. Well, I'm not going to reveal the big reveal yet, but oh my God. This has been altering me. This has been freaking me out ever since. Every reveal at the end of every episode just blows my mind, and this is disclosure on one of the biggest scales possible. And I'm going to discuss how it made me feel and what it did. If you want to see the show and to look at the scientific, hear the scientific evidence, see it for yourself, you're not going to be disappointed, trust me. This is incredible information. It just that's the sound of my mind being blown. Just you wait, guys. I'll be right back. I'm going to take a quick break. And when I come back, we're going to talk about the show Unearthing Nazca, and I'm going to tell you all about that. And I'm also going to have a quick and brief discussion on the mummies found in Paracas, Peru, and all of the research that Brian Forster did on the bodies and what he found. We're going to talk about all that tonight. It's almost something I just had to get off my chest, basically. So we're going to do that tonight, right after this message. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's high time you did. It is the absolute easiest way to make a podcast. First of all, it's absolutely free. Second of all, they have creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. You guys have known that I've been doing this for 8 months using the Anchor.fm app right on my cell phone, and I have done it everywhere, right? I have recorded this in my living room, my bedroom, little cafes in Quito, Ecuador, all over Cuenca. It's so absolutely easy to make your podcast, and editing is just a snap. Anchor also will distribute your podcast for you, and it took me about 2.5 months to become syndicated, and now I'm available on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many more, and so can you. You can make money from your podcast also, and there's no minimum requirement. You get paid from your very first listener. It is everything that you need to make a podcast all in one place. So please, if you are interested in making a podcast of your very own, do not hesitate to start with Anchor. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started today. All right, guys, I am feeling really strange, and I feel like I might be making a transition into the fifth dimension. I literally feel like that. I had way too much sugar today, but I don't think it's that. I keep asking my higher guidance, and they're like, no, you're making the transition. And I'm like, I feel strange, and I like strange, so hey. Bring it on. I don't know if it's the alteredness of not having a lot of sleep, or if it is that mix of not enough sugar, or overstimulation of my brain. I don't know what's going on, but I feel very weird. I'm going to try to get through this, though. All right, so as most of you are aware, I got a subscription for Gaia.com on Christmas Day, and I gave the information to my kids, like, this is part of your Christmas present, guys, because you can, have several screens open at once, so you could have your whole family access it. And we do the same thing with Netflix, but Gaia is just above and beyond, and there's a lot of information. I felt like, well, we'll probably look into some of the raw foods things, and maybe I'll take a yoga class or a breathing class, or but also I'm interested in cosmic disclosure, and I was interested in forbidden archaeology, that kind of thing, as well as quantum physics, quantum mechanic type stuff. So like I talked about in the first half of the show tonight. So anyway, I've been watching Cosmic Disclosure, and it's like one of those shows I can't stop. Like, I go to Gaia and I can't look at anything else but that. And about a week ago, this show called Unearthing Nazca came into my field of view, and I was like, oh my God, that looks really weird. And what I expected was that they were just going to discover that there were mummies or strange little bodies like they had in Paracas. And I've been in all these cities. I've been to Peru. I lived in Lima for 18 months, and I spent with my kids like 2 months traveling around the south part of Peru. We also went north. We went to Mancora. We went to Tumbes. We went all the way up and down the country. The farthest south I went was Cusco. I never went to the jungle. I never saw Machu Picchu. Is that not the craziest thing? I met a lady in Montanita Beach in Ecuador, and she said the same thing. Sneha, she's my friend, and she's from Europe, and we met in Montanita Beach, and it was like, oh, I know you. You're my soul friend. She's like, oh my gosh, yeah, that's right. Like, it's like instant connection, hugging each other. We know each other. And we were inseparable for like 3 or 4 days until she left Montanita Beach. But we were just absolutely like, I totally love you. And I've known you forever, right? And she said the craziest thing that ever happened to her, she went to Peru specifically to go see Machu Picchu. That was like her big goal. It's everyone's big goal. It's like Peru. Oh my God, Machu Picchu. It's like the big kahuna of Peru. And she said, I went there and I got to Cusco, and she said, I just stayed in a hotel for like a couple weeks, and I knew that the timing for me to go to Machu Picchu just was not right. And I know I'm going to go on another day, and I'm going to see it another day. And I thought, she's crazy. There's no way I would ever do that. Well, you know what? Famous last words. I took my kids to all these cities and tourist things. We went on this bus called Peru Hop. I highly recommend it. If any of you really want to go to Peru, let me know, because I will tell you. If you go to Lima, I'll tell you how to stay safe, because there's a lot. It's dangerous, it's violent, there's a lot of robberies. Even the taxi drivers are not safe. And if you want to get into the heart of the city, I could tell you where it's safe, how to get there. So let me know. Write me a private message. Just Elena Fox Starks on Facebook, I suppose. Or just write me at metaphysicalsoulspeak@gmail.com. But anyway, so I took my kids to all these different cities, Ica, Paracas, we went to Nazca, we went to Cusco, and we got to Cusco. We were in the hotel room for 2 weeks. We could barely breathe. It was over 10,000 feet above sea level. And we had just come from Lake Titicaca, which was 12,000 feet above sea level. And we hung out there in Puno, in Arequipa. We went to Colca Canyon. I mean, we went to all these wild places, like super, super high up in elevation, like incredible, like halfway up Mount Everest or Kilimanjaro type. It was like we're way the hell up there, like in elevation. And we got to Cusco, and I just couldn't. It was weird. But anyway, when we went to Nazca, we got on the plane and we flew over the Nazca lines. It's a tour. It takes about an hour, and it's $75 or something. Maybe not even that. It was like, I think it was like $100. It's like $50. I think it was $150 for the three of us to see the Nazca lines from the air. And I'm like, this is something that my whole life, from the moment I first saw it, I was like, I'm gonna go do that. Oh my God, I'm going to take my kids. And I remember watching a documentary when my kids were really little, like still in diapers. And I watched this with my husband, and I said, oh man, I'm going to go. We're taking the kids. He's like, yeah, I want to go. And he says, I doubt I'll ever get there. I'm like, oh, I'm going with or without you. I'm taking the kids. Well, I took the kids about 3 years ago. And, I was like, oh, your dad would love to be here. I know he'd love to be here. And we went to the tower first, and then we went all the way into the heart of Nazca and went flying around and looked at all the different glyphs. And they said, if you look at these glyphs and you look hard enough, you're going to see glyphs that are not mentioned in the tour. You might spot something that we haven't noticed yet, because there's new glyphs being discovered all the time. It blew our minds. But my favorite one was the monkey, and I said, if I don't see the monkey, I'm not going to get the tattoo. But if I see the monkey, I'm getting the tattoo in Cusco. And I did. And I have a green monkey Nazca line tattoo on my back. And when I got that tattoo, it opened up a portal on my back. I knew I had to have that one. And I don't know why, but I had to have it. It's so strange. I know it's so strange, but it was just one of those things. It's like I had to have it. This ancient line that was drawn, and they're all like done in one line. It's like a continuous line. It's the strange art. And why would they make these massive glyphs on the ground except to be seen from space? It seems like it's the only reason, right? And there's all these stories. Go back last year to my Purple Passions of Peru episode, and you'll learn that the ETs came down and they gave a purple dog to the Incans. Now, this is not a myth. It's not a legend. I've pet several purple dogs. Sneha, who I met in Ecuador while I was renewing my visa, she's the one that says, hey, by the way, do you know about the dog of Peru? And I'm like, no. She says, yeah, it's purple. And I'm like, wait a minute, I saw a really effed up dog that I thought had been hit by a bus and he was lucky to be alive. He just had a little scruff of hair on his head and he was all bruised up and like bloody looking. She says, no, these are alien dogs. They're extraterrestrial dogs and they're purple and they have a mohawk. And I'm like, oh my God. And they have a little tuft of fur on the end of their tail. They're the weirdest freaking things I've ever seen. And I've looked at octopus, so I mean, it's. But as far as dogs are concerned, I mean, these are weird. And they're really, really intelligent. And the legend in Peru is if you have one for a pet, it will heal everything you have just by being near it, by petting it and giving it love. It will, because it's an ET dog, will heal you. Right? So there's all these weird stories and myths in Peru, and they've never had a cover-up like they did in the United States. They never thought to cover it up. The government never thought, oh, let's start lying to the people about ETs, because it's a source of pride. They chose us. They chose to be in our lands and give us gifts and teach us about various values, such as valuing this dog. So I got my tattoo in Cusco, never went to Machu Picchu. So the whole trip was wild, spiritual, crazy. And I was there in Nazca, guys. I was there with my kids. And that place is weird. It's got a neutral energy, just like if there's even a place south of Lima, there's a place where there's underground water bases for the extraterrestrials. And as their spaceships go in and out of the ocean, there's tunnels leading to these pools. There's 6 different pools. And I talked about that in my Peru episodes. I mean, there's so many cities talking about ETs. Anyway, so went to Nazca, stayed there a couple days, and then we took off to the next city. And I don't know, it's like Brian Forster had this intense interest in the mummies of Paracas because they look like ETs, and he wanted them to be ETs so bad. And so he convinced the people that have the museum there, and I knew them, and they were really pushy, and they tried to get us to go in the museum. They said we'd like it. And I was feeling really weird. That's when I took, like 1,500 souls had been following me and made me sick, and they're pushing on my head the African slaves that needed to be freed and pushed back into heaven. So I had to open a portal for them. And that was the first time I'd ever done a massive. So I was feeling really weird and wonky there. And once I did it the next day, I was feeling better, but I still was like, these people keep pushing me, and it was expensive to get in the museum, and I was hot. It was right on the ocean. It was super hot. I don't know what was wrong with me, but I was like, I don't think these mummies are anything. I don't think there's any big reveal. Because, and I asked the lady, I'm like, so they're aliens. They're ETs. And she said, oh no, they're not. They're just Peruvians. And I'm like, okay, fine. And I don't know why I wasn't more interested, but I was in 2 or 3 cities where there were mummies, and I just didn't. In fact, I was in 3 cities where there were mummies, and I just didn't. I don't know why I didn't look into it. I kind of feel like I'll go back and I'll look into it a little bit more. But I went to some sacred sites, and I went to places like Adore, and Peru is a weird place energetically, and I wasn't right when I was there. And I look back, I'm like, why didn't I do all that stuff? So strange. So anyway, Brian Forster, he has a channel on YouTube, so just look at Brian Forster. And he started doing all this DNA testing on these mummies, and did everything very scientifically. He's a researcher. I don't think he's a scientist, but he learned how to collect the data, and he sent it off to different labs. And I was following his stuff a couple years ago when I first got to Ecuador. And I was like, I can't believe I didn't meet this guy when I was in the city where he's been for years. And I was there when he was there. And I never met him. I'm like, it's so crazy. And he's leading tours all the time to Cusco and all over Peru. And anyway, I still don't know why I don't see these things, but he had the DNA testing, and there's these little teeny tiny humans with these long elongated skulls, and everyone thought, well, it's like the Mayans where they did the board slant, where the babies were born and they put these boards on their head and they tie it and they shape their heads in this really insane shape. That's what I was taught when I was a kid, right? So after studying these mummies, it turns out that they did not do that. Their heads were just bizarrely shaped. And then they found one of the mummies that had red hair. So I met thousands of Peruvians, and I don't think I ever saw one that had red hair. I think maybe one had red hair. And when I went to the islands on Lake Titicaca where people live, one of the islands that I went to, they had these magnets of the native indigenous people, and they had the native clothing. And one of the magnets was very pale skin and red hair. And it looked like a little mini me, and it freaked me out. And the lady said she just had like a vision to make this one. And I'm like, this is mine. I have that magnet on my refrigerator right now. Go to my Instagram, Mermaid Girl 888. You'll see it. It's freaky. Anyway, so the mummies in Paracas, what happened with the DNA testing is they were 100% human. They were older humans, but they're related to modern day humans. They're just really teeny tiny and have really strange shaped heads. But further testing, and when Brian Forster sent the testing to like the ancestry DNA things where they trace your ancestors, these mummies were found in Paracas, right on the ocean. Not right on the ocean necessarily, but in the city that's right on the ocean called Paracas, south of Lima. But it turns out, according to his research, that they came from like a little place, not too far from like Cornwall, England. So these weird little humans, how the hell did they get all the way across the Atlantic Ocean and then all the way down from North America through Central and South America, not too far from Chile, in Peru? It's so insane. Who are these people? Why did they... You're right? It was just the most bizarre... It was more bizarre than if they had been ETs at that time. That's what I was thinking. I thought, oh, they're ETs. Absolutely. I've seen an elongated skull that I believe was found in Mexico in a cave. And I met these brothers who I think their father found it, or they found it with their father while camping in Mexico. They just went on this wild outback type of trip. And I met them, and I met this guy who was the head of MUFON, who died. Ended up writing his announcement that he had died, and Art Bell read it on the air a couple years before he died. God rest both their souls. But I met a lot of like the Woods brothers, and they're the ones, they had these elongated shaped heads, and they had just started to get into the DNA testing. They hadn't quite tested those skulls, but they're really big. They were human-shaped skulls. I mean, typical modern-day human-sized skulls, but with that extra cranial capacity. And I don't know what happened with those skulls, with those mummies that have been found. But that was... So, I mean, I've touched one of these crazy elongated skulls, And in Paracas, I didn't even bother to go in and look at them. It was so strange. Why did I not do that? But I felt like it was an ET, so I didn't care. Like, I don't know. Peru put me in a bizarre headspace, and I'm in a really bizarre headspace right now. Every bone in my whole body is vibrating right now. And I feel like I had surgery and someone left their cell phone inside me and someone's calling them and it's on vibrate. It's the only way I can describe it. And I had this weird feeling several times over the past 3 years. And now it's just my whole skeleton right now is vibrating while I'm talking about this. So it's kind of really freaking me out, to be honest. And I wanted to talk about this. I mean, did anyone, if you see these shows, okay, so like Unearthing Nazca, it's 10 episodes, and each episode is about 6 or 7 minutes long. I think the shortest one is like 5 minutes. So they're really not very long episodes. It's just something you can, you're waiting for something to make in your kitchen. You just pop it on for 5 or 6 minutes. And so this past week, my son got into it. I started watching them and I said, you've got to see this. This is weird. So what happened was in Nazca, this guy found these mummies. And these mummies are white, like this, coated in this weird white powder. And they look like humans at first until you realize that they only have 3 toes. And they're excessively long. They're like 2 or 3 times longer than a human's toes. Well, than a human's fingers. And then you realize their hands only have 3 fingers. And they're excessively long. They're like double or triple the size of a normal human's fingers. Double the size of mine, triple the size of Trump's. This small toddler hands. So they have big eye sockets, and other than those things, they look kind of normal, right? So they started by carbon dating. They started with DNA testing. They found out the first one they found was female. And so when you go through every 6 minutes of this, there's like 2 or 3 revelations in each section that is absolutely mind exploding. So they had to rule out that it wasn't a hoax. They thought, what if it's just a human body and some prankster wanted to freak someone out and got, strung together bones from like birds or something and, tied it to the body and coated it in this thing to make it look like, So they start thinking, well, let's eliminate hoaxes and then let's eliminate other doubts. So it turns out the white powder was diatomaceous earth, which is just weird. But they think that it was meant to preserve the bodies because they're mummies. And now Nazca is just desert, but it's not, it gets hot there, but it's not terribly hot. Not what you would imagine. It's very dry air. And it's not very high up. I didn't remember it being extremely high in elevation. It's not terribly high up. But it's extremely dry. They haven't had rain in hundreds of years there. Because if they had, no more Nazca lines. Because they're just etched into the ground. Like as if you were dragging a stick behind you. And most places on Earth you do that. The rains come and you're not going to see your drawing anymore. But in Nazca, oh no, there hasn't been rain in a long time. So it's very arid. So these mummies just dried out, but the flesh is still intact. And so they start getting all the results, and they found out that, some of them were 1400 AD and some of them were 400 AD. And so the first one they got was kind of shorter than the average human, a little bit shorter than me. And then the second one they got was excessively itty bitty, but looking like a fully formed thing, and it was from a different, time. It wasn't like related to the first one. Then they got a third one, and that was even smaller. And this it's like starting to freak me out, because I start to realize, guys, they started showing pictures of all the tapestry. They started showing pictures of all the like of tapestry, like in purses and in vests and pillowcases and sweaters, and on cave drawings and petroglyphs on rock drawings. And all of these things had 3 fingers and 3 toes. In fact, I gotta look at it, but I think my monkey tattoo only has 3. Oh, I'm freaking out now because I just realized that. I know who made the petroglyphs. I mean the lines, the Nazca lines. I'm pretty sure these ETs made them. Oh my God. So, okay, this I just wanted to discuss this. It's not terribly scientific. I'm not telling you guys the names of the people. I didn't write down or take notes. I just watched the show and rewound it and listened to it again and rewound it, listened to it again, and discussed it at length with my son. When I was in Santa Barbara, I was abducted by aliens repeatedly that were not terribly tall. They were shorter than me, and they had 3 long fingers. And I know that because I drew a picture, like an 18 by 24 picture I did with chalk, of the alien holding a toy replica of a spacecraft that I also saw. And the 3 fingers look identical to the 3 fingers in the beings that were unearthed in Nazca, Peru. And that was in Santa Barbara, where that was happening to me repeatedly when I lived there. So all these 3-fingered and 3-toed beings, it's embedded, woven into the fiber arts and painted into the petroglyphs for God knows how long. That part of this research hasn't even been completed yet. It's just that they started noticing, oh, wait a minute, we thought it was stylized. We thought it was just the way the natives wanted to do it. Just the hint of 5 fingers, but we'll just put 3. So it doesn't look tedious or something, Like no one really gave a lot of thought to it until they found these mummies. And they were coated in this white stuff, like they thought they had done. Mummified remains were very similar to some of the things they found in Egypt. Again, with the across the pond thing. But when they looked at it, it was diatomaceous earth, and I don't know what the results were in Egypt, if that was a part of the mummification situation over there or not. But okay, so this gets deeper and deeper, guys. So they tested the DNA, and before they tested the DNA, they uncovered one of these little bodies, these weird little alien creatures, and they thought it might be a branch, like Homo habilis or something. It might be a branch, a part of the evolution of humanoids, humans, us. This might be one of our long lost missing links, or one of our branches. That's what they were thinking. It's from Earth. It must be related to humans because it's so similar. It's a humanoid shaped being. But then they uncovered like the second or third one, and the diatomaceous earth had been rubbed off. And what was revealed beneath it, you guys, it freaked me out so much. It's dark gray reptilian skin like a snake. And they started taking x-rays, and the skeletal structure of the spine is very much like that also of a snake or a reptile. And these bodies are really little, like one of them's only 1 foot tall, like 1 foot 1 inch tall. Not very big, but they're little reptilians. My ex-boyfriend from Peru, his father grew up in the jungle and has Rh negative blood, and my ex-boyfriend always told me, I think my dad is part reptilian alien. Like, why do you say that? He's like, he has Rh negative blood, and he's a very negative person. And the reptilians, we know they're very negative people. And that's why we say they have negative blood, right? I'm like, well, that's just Rh. He's like, yeah, I know, but, it's kind of we almost kind of joke about it. I'm like, well, what about you? And he's like, my Rh is positive. I don't know if that means that guy's not really his dad, or if you can have that. I don't know, but maybe and then I think one day he did say it was Rh negative, but he says, but I'm a positive person. So it was just kind of like always a joke with him. But he was constantly talking about it. So I actually wrote to him tonight and I said, did you know about this? About the ET bodies that they uncovered? And he said, yeah. He said, this is really big news in Peru right now. It's like all over the news there. This is new information, guys. This isn't like from 5 or 6 years ago and I looked up an old video. Like, they just, this past week, they added videos to it. Now there's like an hour-long video that puts it all together. I haven't seen that one yet. But I'm putting together all this information from all these different places. And it's like really rocking my mind, right? It's shaking me up for sure. Because my whole life, I felt like ETs were real. I felt like they were taking me, they were abducting me. But I also thought it's a very good possibility. I have a good imagination. Maybe I'm schizophrenic and they never found it. Maybe I am crazy. Maybe this isn't really real. Maybe they don't really exist. Maybe I'm just in a dreamlike state a lot. Like all the excuses that you could come up with to get out of the thought that this is actually happening. This is actually real. These beings are really physically real. We didn't have a smoking gun evidence until now. Even though Dr. Roger Lear would remove implants from people, how'd they get there? I didn't go to the doctor to have an implant put in my head. I would go to sleep and I would wake up with needle marks, puncture wounds at the base of my skull. I mean, even just recently, in the past year even, when I lived in Peru, I was with my boyfriend and we were together one day and we had looked at the clock and all of a sudden 2 hours had passed and it felt like 5 minutes, and we both had puncture wounds at the base of our hand, and I still have the scar on my wrist to this day, and he does too. We had the exact same needle mark on our hand, like it's like right where the arm meets the hand on the inside wrist, in the same exact place. And I said, we were just abducted by aliens. He's like, yeah, I know. He's like super calm about it. He's like, it's mi cultura, baby. It's like, it's my culture, baby. He'd always say that to me. It's my culture, baby. That was his excuse for everything. And I'm like, well, why do you think they're taking us? They just took us together. Why? He goes, I don't know, but it doesn't really affect my life. And, we love the ETs. We consider them like our friends. I'm like, okay. See, but all this stuff, even with the needle marks, even with the implant things, I have an implant on the surface of my skull. I could feel it. It's been there for like 20, 30 years. Even with all that, which I considered evidence, but at the same time, maybe there's a scientific explanation. Occam's razor. I could maybe explain this away. I could maybe make an excuse to make it go away. I could maybe do something that would just take me out of the idea that being abducted by ETs is a real reality. So the DNA was tested in these little reptilian beings. And keep in mind that chimpanzees are 97.5% the same DNA as us. And they expected these hominids that look more like humans to be maybe more than a chimpanzee. That would prove a scenario like Homo habilis, like Lucy. It's going to prove that this is just another branch of humans that have weird looking skin and their bones are a little off. Their mandible is very small. They have teeth, but it looks like they can't chew. They don't know what happens, how they eat, but the DNA testing came back, guys, and it was, one of them was 23% the same as humans, and one was 25% the same as humans, but they are not at all related to modern day humans. And all the DNA samples from each body, they took 4 or 5 from each body, from different parts of the bodies, to make sure that it's not a hoax, that it wasn't like, a monkey paw or, a bird claw or whatever sewn onto a baby body or something weird. It turns out that they're absolutely real. They're absolutely genuine. They literally say this DNA, we have nothing on earth that comes close to this DNA. Not one thing. We think this is of unknown origin. And this scientist said, I've been doing this my whole life with DNA, like, I don't know what he said, like 15, 20 years. He said, you know what? I've never seen anything like this. In fact, I can honestly say that I believe this has an off-world origin. This is not from Earth. This DNA is nothing like humans. That, I don't know how you guys are feeling right now. But I know that I'm reacting to it in all kinds of weird ways. And I'm like, my body is shaking. Like, I'm not shaking out of fear, but I am. My body is vibrating super, super, super high right now. And I'm seeing stuff. I'm having this quantum vision thing starting to happen. It's very, very weird. My son looked at me. He was watching this, and now you got to understand, a couple years ago, he told me that I'm crazy, ETs aren't real. None of this is real, right? Everyone who believes in it, they're just making some fantastical story and makes good movies and fun stories, and it's fun to think about, and it's possible, maybe. We can't believe it. Today he looked at me and he goes, well, of course they're from off-world, Mom, because so are we. I'm like, what? And he goes, well, after I saw this, I had a memory or a feeling. I don't know what it is. Maybe I'm having a vision right now, a little bit. And psychically, I'm getting the information that look at us and look at them. Their nose is hardly there. There's just two teeny tiny slits on their face, the way a reptilian would be. They don't have any visible ears, the way a reptilian is. And he said, so they come from a world that has low light. That's why they have big eyes. And I don't know what they do, but they don't eat much because their mandibles don't work. He says, but look at us. We have very small eyes because we come from a place that's hot. Because there's a sun, maybe two, right? It might be more than one sun. And we have big noses because we have to breathe in more oxygen. We come from a place that doesn't have much oxygen and is very hot. It's like, look at how our bodies are formed. Look at how their bodies are formed. So think about the world they came from and think about the world we came from. And when you think about it, it's very possible that humans are not even from Earth either. The fact that just watching the Unearthing Nazca series brought that kind of broad-mindedness to my kid, who didn't want to even talk about this stuff. It freaked him out before. And I was like, oh, well, I think it's true. It's real. So it's very weird to me that this past week, just coming across my desk, being on my computer or my tablet, 3 different articles about ETs came across. One said, scientists reveal why it's impossible that ETs have ever visited Earth or even exist. Basically debunking, like a skeptic, that there's nothing ever been revealed because there's no such thing as ETs and we're alone in the universe. That archaic chestnut. That old thought that's not even real. So there was that. And then there was another article that came across to me in my energy field, and it said why we think that ETs are already here. It was almost like I hopped a freaking timeline. It was a night and day ideas between the articles. And then a third article came across my energy field that said scientists have decided to step it up and try to contact ETs, searching for extraterrestrial life and intelligence with better equipment, basically stepping up our I just looked up and saw I don't know, it just looked like a rose petal floating in the air. And then it disappeared. I don't know. Are you a being? It might have just been a quantum particle. And it was moving so fast that it had like a thickness to it, but I'm feeling really freaking weird, guys. I mean, I hope that you can even hear my voice. I don't even know if this is recording. I mean, what if I am in the 5th dimension already and this is just very strange the way this looks, man. I've been having really bizarre dreams. I had a dream that I could hop up, just flexing my feet really fast, and that would create my ability to jump almost 5 feet off the ground. So I was like hopping everywhere. Like Elroy on the moon in the Jetsons episode where they went to the moon for like a class trip, a field trip. I'm feeling so strange. I swear to God, I didn't take any drugs. I didn't do anything. I don't know, I'm vibing really high. This is so strange. Higher than I ever did before. Maybe I'm getting you guys high off this. Do you guys feel high after listening to me? Like you smoked a bong and you didn't really? That's how I feel, and I didn't. But after seeing these mummies, right? So they're still doing more testing. They said they've been working on this project for a whole year, and the reveals are so big. And yet, they still have a lot more ways to go. They'll be doing this another year or two. One of the mummies that they found had 3 calcified eggs in her belly. Eggs. Huge eggs. Like, it looked like it's the size of chicken eggs. 3 of them. But they're a little bit elongated. And all the scientists that came on board to this project, even ones that are just recent to the project, and I mean, you guys, they've got a scientist from Russia, a scientist from France. They have scientists from the US working on this. I mean, this is like a full global effort to figure out what the heck these beings are. What are these creatures? And they have this massive head compared to their body. And they're saying that they look like they were very intelligent. Of course they were intelligent. They made the Nazca lines. Or the people of Nazca made the Nazca lines to communicate with these beings that they clearly loved, because you wouldn't leave a marker on the ground for someone you hated. You wouldn't make art for them. You wouldn't do anything for them. I feel like some of their people died when they were here during the course of events, various trips they took here, and then they ended up leaving the planet, but they left the mummies here because they died here and they buried them here. Now I'm getting a headache just talking about it. It's just suddenly, I just got a headache come over me. My frontal lobes, it's like so much to think about. I don't know why, but knowing that this is real, we just stepped up one. Our civilization just moved up a notch. Do you guys feel it? We just moved up a level. Because now we have physical evidence, scientifically researched and studied. The DNA testing was sent to several labs around the world. The highest quality DNA testing that could be done has been done. And those are the results, not related to modern humans. Not a hoax. It's actual creature-related DNA. And definitely only like 23 to 25% related to humans, meaning it's a lot more reptile, a lot more like lizard than human. And also, the DNA sequence is so bizarre that they know it's a whole new species they've never studied, and that it really doesn't come from Earth. Those are the reveals so far. I haven't seen the 1 hour movie yet, but I don't know. They even found a baby body, and it had 3 fingers and 3 toes, but they were littler because it was a baby with a really big head, and it was mummified in like a little round circle, like a little ball, with its legs tucked up. And there were other mummies that were found in Peru. So I think that the native people just buried everybody the same. But so it looks like, even though they haven't found the physical evidence that the peoples knew each other, and they haven't tried to do any DNA testing from ancient Peruvian people, because they haven't really found any, that they could do that. So that's the next step, to see what, if any, interaction were between the two. You know, the ETs and the humans living in Peru at the time. A lot more research and work is going to have to be done on this, but you guys, I swear to God, I mean, you could go get a free trial on Gaia.com and watch this. It's like, it will only take you 1 hour. Unearthing Nazca. It's a special report. I mean, if you guys are at all interested in archaeology and ufology and exobiology, which is the biology of entities not from Earth. It's really, really blowing my mind, guys. It's like I can't stop saying that, but it brought it all home for me in a new way. I cannot deny that this stuff happened to me. I cannot just think it away. I cannot just say, well, maybe I was hypnotized. Maybe the government's doing an experiment on my mind. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe it was a dream. Maybe I'm just a vivid imaginative thinker. I cannot think any of those things anymore. I don't have a mental excuse way out of this. So I've got physical evidence in my body. Now there's scientific evidence these things are real. I don't know. That's just, these are my thoughts. These are my thoughts on this right now. This is my reaction to the Unearthing Nazca. And I feel really strange and disjointed right now. So my shows tonight isn't as put together as normal, but because I feel like any moment I'm just gonna start flying around the room again, taking off. Like, this is the same energy, the same feeling I've been feeling in, just little bursts of energy over the past couple years. But it's more today, like solidly more. For hours and hours I've been feeling this. Usually I feel this way for 2 or 3 minutes, then it goes away. It might come back an hour or two later for a couple minutes, and then it goes away. But the way I'm feeling right now, I've been feeling for like 12 hours. I don't know if this is the beginning of just hopping in the 5th dimension. If it is, then there's my report on that too, and you guys know what to look forward to. If you've already hopped into the 5th dimension, you can let me know if that's what the hell is happening to me or not. Right now with this, ugh. But I'm getting a headache. I'm just, yeah, I mean, it's just, you know how we have 2 bones in our lower legs and our arms next to our hand. That part, we have the radial radius and the ulna, and in the leg, the tibia and the fibula. But these bodies only have 1 bone. 1 bone on top, 1 bone on bottom for the legs. Same thing for the arms. That's another, like, biological difference. So, I don't know, guys. I feel like this elevated us to a point of, we found the bodies, we have the evidence, ETs are real, bring it on, come on down. Come on down. It's now time for the extraterrestrials, the groups, the Galactic Federation, the Pleiadians, all of them. It's time for them to have their big reveal. Now, it's time. We just went up one. I just feel like we're now moments away from joining the Galactic Federation, and now Star Trek will become our reality. Because of this. This is disclosure. Extraterrestrial, alien life form disclosure. On such a huge scale. And these people did the research in secret for a while. and then started releasing the videos on it. They'd already done the videos. They'd already shown the evidence. They'd already shown the bodies up close. They showed the nerve bundles in the spine. One of them had been decapitated. And there was no explanation for it. They were just like, whoa, how'd that happen? And they looked into the spinal column. They checked every part of these beings out. They're real. And all of us somehow just spiritually grew a little today. We've gotten more spiritually mature with this knowledge. I don't know where we're going, guys. I don't know where we're headed, but thank God we've got this disclosure now. It's real. They're here. And it looks like they've been here for at least 1,000 years. I know it's been longer. We all feel it, sense it. We can almost taste it. We can almost hear it and smell it. That they've been here for maybe millennia. But at least we have these bodies to prove for like 1,400 years or so they've been here. Then they might be creatures from the earth that we just didn't know about. Maybe they're the ones that live underground. That's also a possibility, right? But this is it. This is what I've been thinking today, guys. This is what has been absolutely taking up all of my mind power. It's just blowing my mind. It's boggling me. But also clarifying so much. Anyway, what did you guys think about this? What do you guys think about this? Have you looked into this? Have you seen the bodies? I want to know. I'll read it on the air. If you write to me, if you're interested in this and you want to put your 2 cents worth in, let me know. Just write me, metaphysicalsoulspeak@gmail.com. So that's it, guys. I wanted to say thank you for your loyalty, for liking, subscribing, and sharing this podcast. Thank you for your donations. I got a sizable donation the other day. I'm really grateful for that. That helps keep me on the air, so I'm grateful for that. Thank you, thank you, thank you for all of that. I love each and every one of you. I love you with my whole heart. You are, in fact, me in La Quech. As they say in Guatemala, I am another yourself. Mitakue o Yasin, as they say in the Lakota Sioux. We all are one. I am you, you are me, we are we. And together we are raising ourselves to the holy 5th dimension. I'll be back tomorrow with all unique and original programming. Just like always, we're going to talk about Earth Changes Report again. And see where we're at with the coronavirus and all that tomorrow. And that's it, though, for now. That's all she wrote. I'm going to go meditate. I'm going to do the Wim Hof breathing technique. See where that takes me, because if this is what brought me to this 12-hour insane state of awareness and heightened quantum awareness, I'll let you guys know tomorrow if it continued. Because you guys might want to do it also. I feel freaking weird, but it feels good. It's a good weird. Anyway, I've got to go. I've got to see what's going on with me. Meditate a little. Ask my higher guidance. Anyway, that's it for tonight. I'm signing off with peace and joy and the high vibes of the holy 5th dimension. Until next time, guys. Peace. Metaphysical Soul Speak is run on sponsors and listener support. This means listeners like you. If you are so inclined to support my efforts and my little podcast, please visit me at anchor.fm/metaphysical and pledge an amount of your choosing today. Thank you.